Mm. All right, we are on page 192, about 1/3 from the bottom of from the top of the page, and the line starts with the word Hein Lamayla Mishiva. We started this union in pointing out that there is teva, nature, and the nature in general is incorporated in the number 7, which is a complete cycle of all natural development. And then there is that which is above the 7. This which is above the 7 is beyond natural process. This is like the makif that encompasses everything at a much higher level. Just like a makif, like the sky is above and below the same. It encompasses everything. And this is true in everything, that there is a complete cycle, like in the human being. There are all the koiches from seichel and midas all the way to action. But is it the same person who thinks and who makes a decision and who acts? Is it the same person, or is it different people? A time when he thinks, a time when he feels, and a time when he acts. It's the same person. What unifies? What defines this person as a single, and one and the same person throughout the entire process, when he's contemplating and then deciding and then acting? What? The neshama. That's true, the neshama. But in the neshama itself, the neshama is madrigas. The immediate madriga is called rotzin, which encompasses, it gives life to the entire process. And that is the same on top and the bottom, throughout the entire process. This is called makif.
Why it's called makif? When he's one what he's what's in the makif. He's like feeling he's one.
It is makif because it's the same in from that perspective, from the Rotzen perspective, when he contemplates and he thinks and he figures out and he understands and then comes into the heart and then act, it's all the same. It's the same force, the same spirit that keeps him going. That's why it's called makif. And that spirit itself, the spirit of Rotzin, cannot be captured. You know what captured means? Cannot be defined in any of these madrigas. It's not seichel, it's not midas, it's not action. It cannot be captured in any particular level.
Soviet Kolam is makif, and Mimal Kolam is not makif. And Soviet is not, it's so high life, not feeling, it's like makif.
Right. Sovev Kol Almin is called Sovev Kol Almin. He surrounds all worlds, which means that it's the same in all the worlds. It's the same in Atzilus as in Asiya. Whereas Mamali is very different in Atzilus and Asiya.
So in this aspect, like Rotzen and actions and Machshava Dibur is the same Rotzen. But Soviv Kalamin do not work, don't feel the Soviv Kalamin. But we feel the Rotzen. So in this aspect they're different.
Well, we feel the Sovev Kol Almin, not in the same way as we feel our Rotzen. The truth is that we're not aware of our Rotzen either. We think that we act based on the Seichel. And as a matter of fact, this is what we're learning, that ultimately what the Avodah is to accomplish that Teva should be the same as L'mayla Teva. Teva should be exact, it should be on the same level as L'mayla Teva. L'mayla Teva should express itself, should show itself in Teva. Right? There is much to speak about, but we'll have a chance as we go on. So we say that there is 7 days, and this is Shiva Shemini Habinyan, and then there is 8. The number 8 is a number that supersedes and is above the 7. Above means that the reason it's above is because it's outside of this natural cycle. Natural cycle is 7, and 8 is above the natural cycle, and that represents that which is above the nature, and ultimately it's brought down into nature. This is what we brought down, that there are Yomim Tovim, Moyadim. There are holidays that are 7 days old, 7 days long, holidays of 8 days long, and these holidays that are 8 have a higher quality than the highest of 7. This is what he's saying over here. Okay, 8. Because the 7 days of binyan means of building the world. This is the 7 days of hekef. Hekef means the rotation. And what this means is there are 7 days, and after the 7 days are finished, it starts again the same rotation of 7, from 1 down to 7. The lechoira in a move on, because seemingly it's not obvious, it's not understandable. It's simply understandable. Masha on the moinim tomid, the fact that we are constantly counting Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, the first, second, and third day. Va'aloi mibriya zo'elam ad ato. But is it not that from the creation, in time of the creation of the world, till now, kvar yesh alofim urvovis yomi, there are already thousands and tens of thousands of days. Loma mein in tomi drishim v'shem. Why are we constantly going back to counting the first and the second? Every week we start again from the first and the second. The answer is Elo. However, they say shehein imei hahekev. This count 1 through 7 represents in Me'ha'ekev the days of the total complete cycle, and then they repeat themselves once again. The inyan in this, why is there a cycle of 7? What is it? What constitutes this cycle? The Hine. Yoim Rishain Meir Sviras HaChesed. Because on the first day of creation, and the same thing in the first day of every week, Meir Sviras HaChesed is revealed the sphere of Chesed. Or B'yem Sheni Sviras HaGvura. The second day, there's a Sviras HaGvura that reveals itself. Or B'yem Ashlishi Tiferes. And the third is the Sviras HaTiferes. Ad Yom HaShvi Sviras HaMalchus. Till it reaches the seventh day, which is the Sviras HaMalchus. And this is what a week is, from Chesed through Malchus. V'harei, and then, Lo yesh rag zayim midas. Zayim midas. There are only 7 midas. Which means, Shaleach Hashem nishlam ha-mispar ad Malchus. Once this count finishes, completed, through Malchus, Meir oid hapam bechinas chesed. Then again, the aspect of chesed comes forth, surfaces again. Meir oid hapam bechinas chesed. Al kein nimna cholila. This is why it's counted over again. Rishain sheni shlishi. First, second, and third, because it is, even though now really it is the 8th, 9th, and 10th, in the count of days it is 8, 9, and 10. But in count of the cycle, it is again repeating itself to coming to first, second, and third. Because there is a similarity between the first of the second cycle with the first of the first cycle, and so forth on. Hagam de Bechinas HaChesed Yem Rishon Zeh. Although the Chesed quality of this particular first Sunday, first day of the week, Einoi K'moi HaChesed Yem Rishon Shelefonov, is not similar, it's not on the same level as the Chesed of the Yom Rishon of the Sunday of the previous week. The Kshem Sheho'el of Shnin, when just as the 1,000 years, the sheet alpha shnin of the 6,000 years. Not that in terms of years, there is also that same weekly cycle. There's 6 days, which are the 6,000 years, the first 6,000 years. Then there is a 7th millennium, 7,000 years. So just as in the in the 1,000 years of the sheet alpha shnin of the 6,000 years, mecholokim umavdonim zeh mizeh. So each 1,000 is separate and it's different one from the other. The Elav ha'alav hoya bechesed. The first 1,000 was from chesed. V'habeis migvura. The second 1,000 was basically motivated and inspired from the mitzvah gvura. V'hagimel mitiferes, and the third from tiferes. K'moikein hashonim b'chol elef ha'elef. The same thing in the years within each one of the 1,000. Gam kein mechulokoi b'mizigas v'arkovas iskalos amidas. That also within each 1,000, the years are divided in Miziras Varkovas, in how the midas combine with one another. And they're all different from one set of 7 to the other set of 7. V'gam ukmeikein hashonim, v'chein kol shavua v'shavua, and the same is each week. Mecholokim be'ezem madrega hein hamidas and chesed gvura. Each week is different than the other week, and it presents a different madrega of chesed and gvura of that week. Abel al kol ponim, but even though that they are different, each week is a different madrega of this spheres. Nevertheless, hakoil hu hamidas the hagas. It is all with fit in the description of Chagas, of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Shenimshochim b'chol yom v'yom, that are revealed every day. Al kein nimnin rishen sheni u'shlishi. This is why when we count the days, we count the first and second days and third days of the week. V'hein imei ha'hekev. And this is what we call the imei ha'hekev. The days of the cycle, of the orbit. The principle to understand this concept of Mea Hekef we understand it from the midas of a person, in a human being. We always say that there are 10 spheres and 10 koiches in a person. 3 are from the mind, koch and bina v'das, and then there is the 7 from the midas, chesed, gvul, tiferes. And then, as mentioned before, there are other koiches. It's what koiches are called rotzin, koiches makifim, rotzin and noinig, and also koiches. And yet, even though every person has rotzin and noinig, for some reason we say a person consists of 10 koiches. Why not 11? Why not 12? The explanation for that is, in brief, I'll say so to speak, the point, and then elaborate on it. The 10 koiches is what constitute the person. The 11th and the 12th koiches, the choch, the dotzen and noinig, this is not part of the person. It has an influence on the person, but it's not really part of him.
What's it called a koyach now?
Good question. I mean, like I said, I'm going to give the point and we'll understand. In describing anything, let us take a simple illustration that we always use. We have a besmedrash over here. Besmedrash consists of tables and chairs and sporim bookcases, and all kinds of different things. If somebody asked you to describe the besmedrash, you will start from the Aron Kodesh, from the Bima, from the number of tables, number of chairs, number of bookcases. It won't even occur to you to say, this medrash has 4 walls. Why not? It has 4 walls. If not for the 4 walls, you couldn't have this medrash. The answer is that these 4 walls, they are bigger than just being a bismedrash. You can, the 4 walls, it could be anything. It could be a bismedrash, and it could be a havdul, an exercise room. It could be a dormitory. It could be anything. It is not in the category of being described as a specific function. Of being limited to being that or that. Although it of course encompasses it. So when we are describing something, we're describing that which narrowly describes it. Not what makes it possible to be, but what it is on its own. Its limits, and its structure. What makes you call this a bismedrash? That which makes it possible, like the 4 walls would make it possible to be bismedrash. This is not part of the bismedrash. This is something which is bigger, higher, than higher in terms of what it's capable of being, what it facilitates, than just being a specific thing. A human being, at any given time, has his seichel, the way he thinks, what he understands, what he feels, what he does. This describes the person. The potential of what the person can be, which is really based on a much higher aspect of the person. This is like the nefesh, or like you said, the neshama, the rotzen, and the inuk. This is not part of what he is now. Yes, it makes it possible, but it's not captured in that. It's not limited to that which a person is now. This is why a person can grow. A person can grow with leaps and bounds. Because in potential he is much greater than what he is in fact at any given time. And therefore this is not part of him, this is something which is above him and influences him from a higher level. And what is taken into account in describing the person himself, those koiches that interact, those finite limited koiches that interact with each other, that makes it possible for a person to do an action from concept, from seichel into midas into action. That's the whole person at any given time. The same is true, understanding from this, the same is true in all created beings. Everything that was created, everything that's created has a final, has its limit, has its final description, finality, limit. What was created? And when we describe what was created, we're describing only those parts that go in describing its limit. So let's say time, right? We have days, weeks, months, years, and so forth. The fact that time can go indefinitely, like it says, thousands and thousands of years, that in effect relates to time ad infinitum, without limit. But that's not what was created in time. What was created in time is a limited entity of time. The limited entity of time is the 7 days. Then there is a greater aspect that facilitates, that allows it to go from one set to another set to another set, like 1 week, another week, another week. This is where time itself relates to something bigger than time. Just like a person. In his koiches, he relates to something bigger than his koiches. So that is above time. But time itself has its ingredients that go into time. What is it? The different qualities in time. The different qualities in time is chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, yisod, malchus. These are different qualities. The fact that this can repeat itself multiple times has nothing to do with what's created. That's already from a higher perspective. The same is true in weeks and years and all the way to thousands of years. There's a unit that creation means a unit with a certain finite denomination. And that is the entity. This is called Shiva Simei HaHekef. This is called a Hekef. Let's understand the concept of a Hekef. Just as a rotation, let's say the solar rotation, the lunar rotation, a rotation means that something starts off and it moves around, moves around until it completes its cycle. What is the completion of a cycle? What is the completion of a cycle in the human being? The completion of a cycle in a human being is from concept to definition to being drawn, to chesed, to being drawn into it, to action. Once you acted it, then that cycle is completed. The fact that now you can go back and start a new concept and develop it and bring it back to action, that's nothing to do with the previous one. The complete cycle in a person is when something is brought down from concept into action. And then, let's say, somebody davens on Monday. Then on Tuesday he starts over again and davens again the same davening. But it's not the same davening anymore. Because now he's on a higher level because he davened yesterday. He starts all over again, but with a new insight, with a new understanding, with a new knowledge. So on the one hand, it's a new knowledge. On the other hand, it's repeating the same thing. Because yesterday he finished the whole thing. Now he starts all over again. This is called a hekif. It completes it. Everything has been completed. That's why by Shabbos it says, by Chula HaShemayim, they are finished. That is the whole Shemayim. But Shemayim goes on to develop over thousands of years. It was finished in 7 days. Then starts a new cycle of 7 days, and again it finishes. And that's on a higher level than the first silent sign, and so forth. But this 7 days, this is the whole Shemayim Vorod. This is the whole concept of time in Shemayim Vorod. The fact that it can go further indefinitely, that's nothing to do with the Shemayim Vorod. This is something which is coming from above it. This is what it says that the world is renewed all the time. And in fact, just want to finish the point. In fact, in the world, every instant, like the Alter Rebbe explains, every instant in existence of the world is a new instant, is a new creation. Moment. Is a new creation. The fact that this exists now is not compelling that it should exist the next minute. The next minute exists is because the Rebbe decides to create it again. So the overall expense, this is something which is not part of the world. What is part of the world? That which defines and describes the world. The finite, the limited aspect. This is called Shivas Mehabinyan. This principle is very important to realize. And of course, Yidden live with this principle constantly. The truth is that the whole world lives with the principle because everybody recognizes that there is a week and they all have the same week, 7 days. Even though there were ideas, I think, in Russia, they want to make a 5-day week or something like that, or, for different reasons. But the Bayam Mamash, there's a 7-day week. This is from the time of creation, a 7 days a week, 7-day week. But in the world, this is only for convenience. But by us, this really constitutes the end of a week, the end of time. Shabbos is like cut off, finished. All your work is finished on Shabbos. And on Sunday you start all over again. This is why Shabbos is, let me say, Shabbos is a testimonial. But on Shabbos, Eden give testimony that the world is Hashem's creation. Because we say it's finished, now it's done all over again. When we get this idea clearly in our minds, that the world renews itself all the time, then we can much more readily relate to the fact that it gets recreated all the time. Otherwise, if you think of the world like a continuous, ad infinitum, a continuous sequence of time that never ends, and then you lose track, you lose the sense where's creation come in. In order to be able to relate to the concept of creation, you have to have something finite, definitive. This is being created. This is why Shabbos has a very, very big impact on our recognition of the creation of the world. Ma'aseh Bereshis. All right. Okay. And in those cycles, it can continually rise higher and higher. The Sunday of this week is higher than the Sunday of the previous week, and so forth. It's not the same, but yet it goes into the same, in the same quality, general quality. This is Chesed. This is Gvur.
It has to be higher if it was not successful week.
Sorry?
If it was not successful week, Sunday is going to be higher anyway.
Yeah. The higher aspect is in the fact that this is it is the highest, the godly highest that comes into the week. It's not only because of your Avodah. It's true that your Avodah also makes it higher. I'll explain to you how that happens. But in general, you say higher is maybe talk about from the perspective of what Hashem gives into the world. But even in yourself, in your own experience, it's also higher. Because you don't know how to measure success and failure. You measure success and failure in a very narrow sense. Did I make it or not make it? But that's a narrow measurement. It could be that the effort that you put in this week will be instrumental to bring you success much, much later, which will not be comparable to had you not put in this effort. You know the saying that the children says, Yogaiti u'motzosi tamin. Yogaiti u'motzosi tamin. Now, if you say tamin, you believe, believing means that you believe even if you don't have proof of it. But it says, Yogaiti u'motzosi, I found it. So I have proof of it. Why do we need to be believed? Believe, you have to believe something that you don't have proof of. And the pshat is that I say ahead of time that if you're gaiti, there will be matzosi. Why? Because I believe that. Because in every Igiya Igiya brings out new koiches in the person. And on that basis, this is how a person goes into Igiya. Why does a person go into labor, into higher Igiya? Because he knows that Igiya brings out new koiches. It's all emunah. But he believes it. So you don't know how to measure success and failure. Of course, you want to see everything Matzosi, you want to see the Matzosi, but your gaiti is also an accomplishment.
From godly perspective, it has to be higher because it's close to the final purpose. Much time is passed.
Well, that we'll talk later about it, yeah. Yes, that's related to Because if it's not higher, then the previous effort is a waste. Right? Okay. The hein imei ha'hekif. Okay, we have the place. This is what's known in imei ha'hekif, the days of this cycle, and that repeat themselves all the time. Gam, and then also, Harei Yodua the Yom HaShabbos U'Sfiras HaMalchus, Shu Sfiras HaMalchus, that Shabbos which is Sfiras HaMalchus, Harei Hu L'Mayla Mikol HaYom. Sfiras HaMalchus is the last of the Sfiras. And yet, Hu L'Mayla Mikol HaYom, Shabbos is the highest of all the days. How is it that Shabbos is the highest of all the days? It's the last of all the days. So for Inyan who? The Inyan, how does it come out that Shabbos should be, being the last of all the days, should be the highest of all the days? So the Inyan is the Hinei Oyer HaKav HaMeir Ba'atzilus. The Oyer HaKav, the Oyer, we'll not go into the Kav for the moment. The oil that is Meir in Atzilus, Shans in Atzilus, Nimshach Ad Sfiras HaMalchus. This oil extends itself till Sfiras HaMalchus. The Hascholos HaMshochosoi, Hu B'Bchinas Chochma. It starts off from Chochma. V'Nimshach HaKach B'Bina, and then it goes into Bina, B'chol HaSfiras, and in all other Sfiras, Mistayim B'Malchus, and it completes in Malchus. This is what we explained before, that it begins from Chochma, B'chinas Chochma, because that which is higher than Chochma is not part of the world of Atzilus. That which is part of the world of Atzilus, this is what's recognized in Atzilus, that's in B'chinas Chochma. And from Chochma, that which is in Chochma comes into Bina and all its spheres. V'yodua, and it's known, the Chol Hamshocho Mizgaberes B'siyum Hamshochos. That a Hamshocho becomes stronger at the end of its Hamshoch. Huh?
Connect the Malchus to Shabbos. So you could, how it's relevant Chochma Bina? How it's relevant Chochma Bina to...
How what?
How the Kav is relevant to Chochma Bina. If you say the Malchus is Shabbos, so it means we have only 7. We doesn't have Chochma Bina. We have only 7 middles. If you say Shabbos is Malchus, so in this concept we don't have Chochma Bina.
Right. That is Chochma and Bina. Okay, very briefly. Chochma and Bina is also at a higher level than the spheres from Chesed. And in a certain way, from a certain perspective, Chochma and Bina are also makif in comparison to the spheres of Chesed and Gvur. So Chochma and Bina, okay, let's step back and go back to the mashal of the person. We learned before at the end of the previous ayos that all accomplishment of Birurim is to the Midas. Seichel does not accomplish anything. So therefore, Seichel is not part of the Shivas Imei Habinyan. It's not part of the building process. And yet, the Seichel provides the direction and the inspiration for it. So the Chochmah and Bina are both. On one hand, it's part of Atzilus, because it provides the oil for the Atzilus. On the other hand, it is, in Atzilus itself, it is that which is the higher part and not part of its structure. The real structure of Atzilus is from the spheres, starting from the spheres of Chesed and Gvura. That's why sometimes we count 10, sometimes we count 7. Because the real structure is, the cycle is the 7. It is the 7 spheres that bring to conclusion that which originated in the Chochmah and Bina. So we'll have to leave that up, to the side for the moment. But the point that the Rebbe is making over here, that at the end of Hamshocha, it becomes stronger. The principle of this is that that which is conceptualized, let's say in Chochmah and Bina, the ultimate purpose of any concept is to bring it down to action, to Malchus. It's not just to have the concept and have the feeling, but to have the action. And this is why we say that the closer it comes to the end of its Hamshocha, to its ultimate purpose, the stronger it becomes. This is why Shabbos is higher than all the other days, because this is where the whole Hamshocha, the original Hamshocha, is fully realized. This is Shabbos. So let me stop for a moment and discuss this principle. What is Shabbos? How is Shabbos different than all the other days? And this is going to give us also a perspective on Shabbos itself, which is a valuable thing in itself. Let's take again a simple motion. We want to make a besmedrash out of this room. Okay. So first comes the Chochmah and Bina. What's the Chochmah and Bina? Chochmah and Bina is, Chochmah decides this room is good for a besmedrash. Looks perfect for this medrash. Then in Bina we decide, okay, perfect. So how do you reveal its perfection? We'll have bookcases over here. We'll have tables over here. We'll have the Orek Kodesh over here. Makes very good sense. Okay. So in this chokhmah, in the chokhmah, say this is perfect for this medrash. You see it when you finished. I see it. It really makes sense. I can anticipate how well it was going to be, how suitable it is. Then, when you start describing it in your bina, how it should be, also you see it from a perspective as if it's a completed thing. And okay, then starts this Shivas Mehabin. Then you start building it. How do you start building it? First, you have to go chesed. What's chesed? You have to go and collect money. All of a sudden, the whole thing is lost. All you're collecting is money. Where's my besmedrash? Money is a besmedrash. Money is not money, besmedrash. I have a dream to make a besmedrash. But right now I'm collecting money. Right? I collected all the money. Now I have to go and decide how much I'm going to spend for the tables, how much I'm going to spend for the Aron Kodesh, and so forth. And then finally, that has been decided, and I start buying these things, okay? Ordering, getting carpenters, or whatever it is. Then I start bringing it in. Throughout this whole process, the whole Bismedish is lost. It's precarious. It's happening, it's not happening. And, it's just little pieces there. When do you realize the original Chochmah, and you say, I saw this room as perfect Bismedish, and it's true. I live it, I experience it. It's like a perfectly Bismedish. Look how perfectly everything fits. How comfortable it is. When does that happen? When it's finished. And it's completely set up. And you use it. At that time you don't do anything. It's already set up. At the time when it's already set up, that's when you really experience the truth of your original concept. And up until the time that it's finished, you still have to do something. You don't experience it. When do you realize the full impact of your concept? When you have nothing more to do, and you experience the actual concept itself in an actualized level. This is the Shabbos. Shabbos, you also have to eat. You also have to eat. But what do you eat on Shabbos? That which is very pre-cooked from before. Everything is done. Everything is prepared. Everything, and so then you see the real thing. If you still have to cook, so it's nice. You can cook, but it's not really completely there. Shabbos, the whole world comes to its completion, to the point where there's nothing more left to be done. Not only left to be done, but you experience the completion of the Shabbos. You look at the world from the perspective of its perfection, its completion. That's when the oil comes to full impact. So just as in Chochmah, everything was already fully viewed, fully done. In Malchus, everything is already also fully done. Except, there's a difference. In Chochmah, it was still not the Gilui. It was only in concept. And here, it's an actualization. This is where even something higher than Chochmah comes out. The Rotzen. Why I wanted it. Do you get the point? And this is why Shabbos, this is why it says at the end of the Hamshacha, this is where it becomes more powerful. And Shabbos is a special example of that. Up until time that something is completed, as I said, you don't see the full thing, the full impact of it, and you're still not sure whether is it going to material, is it going to be completed? Is the concept real? Was I right in my original thought? This is when you see it. That's why it comes in a full impact. And this is what the Rebbe says now in the next two lines. Vezehu. And this is the principle that we say the notes tchiloson b'seifon. You heard that expression, right? Notes tchiloson b'seifon. That the beginning is vested in the end. When is the beginning fully revealed and shows its full impact? At the very end. The besoiv ha'hamshocha. Because at the end of the hamshocha, who be his gabrus yoser, it is even with the greater power, gam madregas reishis hahispashtus, even with greater power than in madrega reishis hahispashtus, or the beginning of its expression. V'zehu de gili ha'tainug b'Shabbos davka. And this explains the inyan that tainug is revealed on Shabbos davka. Okay, so now we have to go a step further. We said that in the Chochmah, in the Chochmah we have the full concept. The concept in the Chochmah actually originates in that which is higher than Chochmah, that which is higher than the entire cycle. This is called Oinik, Oinik and Rotzen.
What do you mean by originate?
What's originate mean? It will be very difficult, although of course we can, very difficult to use the same motion of Bismedrish to go back to Oinik, although everything is really back to Oinik. But I want to use a more common illustration what we use in understanding this whole process. You must have heard it from me before, what we call Seichel Anushi. Seichel, human seichel, common sense, that which is right. And everybody understands that it's right to sit, to drink from a cup and to eat with a spoon, whatever these kind of things is what we discussed many times. So that we understand in our seichel. But why do we understand it in our seichel?
Because we have in the soul.
Because we are human beings. That's higher than the seichel, higher than the whole process. That's the real thing. The real reason why we feel comfortable when we eat with a spoon is not because it's comfortable at seichel, but because our whole personality relates to it, which is higher than seichel. This is why, for instance, a child In order for a child to learn Aleph Beis, which is nothing related to how you sit and eat, but it certainly helps. If the child learns to sit and eat with derech eretz, then he can understand, he can relate to Aleph Beis. Why? Because this reveals to him a certain human quality. And in order to learn Aleph Beis, you have to have a human quality. If he acts like an animal, then it does not develop a human quality. Then learning Aleph Beis, he doesn't know what are you talking about. So everything in a person, it goes through the Chochmah is already part of the process of revelation. Hispashtus, called Hispashtus. It's already part of the process of revelation. But it originates in the very essence what the person is. And that aspect is first felt in Oyneg and Ratzon.
How is it in Hebrew originally?
Moker, root, shoirish. What is Oyneg? Oyneg, why does a person feel Oyneg in something? Oyneg means, in simple terms, he feels comfortable with this. And why does he feel comfortable? It's because it suits his nefesh. Again, in today's world, people, again, it's Baruch Hashem, it's dissipating, but there is still that belief that whatever people get used to, that's what they feel comfortable with. You can train a person to do anything, but that is not true. Yes, you can train a person to, and they can get used to it, but he feels uncomfortable, he feels miserable. But he's comfortable with it because he's accustomed to it. And the fact is, we see, there are people, like we mentioned many times, the best illustration, people who from childhood on knew that making money is a very important thing, and that gives you accomplishment and success and happiness and all that, and they go and then embark a whole lifetime on making money, and then after they succeed and they're already 50, 60, 70 years old, they turn around and say, where did my life go? I wasted my time, I wasted my life. I didn't live, I was just making money. Why? Because this training, it doesn't change a person. There's still a human being there. All the time he felt he's accomplishing it, but this was all false. He was telling himself accomplishment, but he's not really into it. He's into that which he feels as a human being, and there's a human quality to it. There's life to it. Not something external. And this is called oyneg. This is what oyneg. Oyneg means that he naturally, internally, deep down, feels comfortable with it. This fits me. This suits me. It's right. Why right? I don't have any reason. Because that's how a human being is. This oyneg, this is the originator. This is the first relation of the nefesh that says, I feel comfortable this way and I don't feel comfortable this way. And from this comes the seichel. And from the seichel comes all the midas. And then comes the completion of the Malchus. What does the Malchus capture? The original Oineg. Let's give an example. We have these tables set up. Let's say, if we sat down with these tables, and one table would stand like this, the other table would stand like this, and they would be in this array. We can also sit comfortably. But we'd feel uncomfortable. It's asymmetrical. It's not right. And we come over to this setup and say, something is wrong. I don't feel comfortable. When I decide I don't feel comfortable, I start thinking, what's wrong? Then my seichel begins to identify, what's wrong? This table is out of place. The discomfort feeling will not tell you what's wrong. It just tells you, I don't feel comfortable. But then the seichel begins to identify what it is that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's how it reflects the oinek. But the real thing is the oinek. That's the real chayes behind everything. What's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. This is all original in the oinek, which reflects the nefesh. So even though the cycle begins from chokhmah, and it goes through and so forth, just like in this case, okay, I understand all that this is wrong and so forth, but when do I satisfy my oinek? And I move it back. Then I feel comfortable. So that moving it back relates back not to my seichel. This is the way it should be, api seichel. It relates back to my oinek. This is the way it should be inside my nefesh. And that's what Shabbos is. That's what the end, that's what Malchus is. It reflects, it reveals itself, it's revealed through the process of Chochmah and Bina. But what does it bring to it? The power of that oinek, which is higher, as it says, that's what he says here. Yoisir gam mimadregas reishis hahispashtus. Even with greater power than the madrega of reishis hahispashtus. Reishis hahispashtus is the beginning of this hispashtus, which is the revelation, which is chokhmah. The power that reveals itself at the end is even greater than that which is in the beginning, reishis hahispashtus. In the Chokhmah, like we said, in Seichel, I feel this is not right, but it doesn't compare to when it comes together. Then it's real satisfaction. It really touches, it captures the real thing. V'zehu the Gilui HaTainug hu b'Shabbos dafka. This is the pshat, that Gilui HaTainug is in Shabbos. Because Shabbos, this is when the whole cycle comes to a conclusion. And what is the conclusion? Like I explained, why is it a conclusion? Because everything is already done. The original concept is now not just in the process of being done, in the process of being understood, or defined, or being accomplished. But it comes to a point where it is completely done. What is the meaning? What is the significance of the fact that it's completely done? The significance of what it's completely done is because in the nefesh, it was always done. This is in the nefesh, there's nothing missing. It's always perfect. So now that it's done, that perfection is reflected in the fact. So that, coming back to our little example over here of the straightening of the tables, now I don't see it as I have straightened out the tables. No, the tables are straight. They are just the way they should be. It couldn't be any other way. That reflects the way they are in the original thing, that this is the only way it could be. You follow the point which I'm making of Shabbos being the completion? That's why it has like the oimek. This is today's installment, gentlemen.